Hey guys, I've been having some problems with my motor. I accelerate, and once I hit a certain RPM, the motor just sort of loses power and it can never really get a full plane like I want to. So I'm going to run you through the troubleshooting process. How to test the spark plugs with a spark plug tester. I'm then going to test the ignition coil, and I'm going to test the CDI to see if the CDI is good or bad. And all of these tests, although they're not perfect, they will help me narrow down the problem. The beauty of Amazon is that you can order a part, even if it's an electrical part sometimes, and install it, see if it works. If it doesn't make a difference, I'm just going to send it back. Don't tell Amazon I'm doing this. It's just going to make my life easier, because sometimes these electrical tests, they don't even really give you the info you need. For example, I can't test the CDI when it's at a certain RPMs because it needs to be functioning in the motor. So they'll only go so far, but they'll at least help me diagnose something before. If I didn't have Amazon, they would help me diagnose something before I ordered the part, potentially. So here we go. To test the ignition coil, the manual calls to connect one terminal to the ground and one terminal to each of the spark plug leads. Gentle. Okay, we put one to here, and we're gonna fish this in and make sure we contact metal in the ignition, in the lead. Okay. Going on there, nothing. I get a 0 reading, or I get a 1 reading, which is the same as when it's not touching, so there's nothing there. That means that there's nothing wrong. In this case, it means there's nothing wrong. This is a tough unit because it's got the ignition coil in with the CDI, so the manual doesn't really have a way to test solely the ignition coil. It's a very odd unit. So now I'm going to go on to the CDI because I think that's more of a functional test for this specific motor. So you remove the spark plugs so that there's no compression in the chamber. Here's my spark plug tester, and I'm setting it first up here to a 1/4 inch. Actually, for this case, I'll go to 3/8 inch. That's probably enough, and it just creates a gap between that point and that node there so that the spark can jump. And it's basically testing the power of the spark. So this cable will go into here, and I'm going to leave a gap on this specific unit so that they don't jump across. There we go. We're in. Now you just have to connect this to a ground. This ground will work. And when we pull this, we get an electrical jump. I don't know if you can see that, but we have good spark. Now, it should go on this motor with the highest load. It should jump at 7/16. And it does. So that tells me the spark's good, which is a little bit unnerving in my opinion, because it means that there's no electrical problem. But I've already checked the carburetor, and the symptoms that I'm having, it shouldn't be a fuel issue. It would be the other issue would be a fuel issue. So I think that there's an electrical problem. At a certain amount of revs, the electrical problem shows itself when it's hot, when it's under pressure. So I'm going to check the CDI and see if that's the issue, but there's a chance that the problem won't even show up with the CDI when it's not running. So what this calls for to test the CDI is you need to have the spark plug tester in for this specific motor. You need to have the gap set at 7/16, and that's going to create a load on the system, which will allow for a proper test to be made. I'm also going to put this engine in the water. And you need to use an analog tester in this situation. This is an analog tester. For this test we are plugging in red to DVA, and we're plugging in COM black down here, and then we have to ground, and then we're switching down to 400 DVA is what we're testing, and we have to ground it. So the analog meter that I had wasn't working. Gregory, the marina owner, has let me use this. It's an induction tester, and this, which is just an the induction tester is an attachment for this multimeter. So we're going to test the amps running through this black cable. So we bring this around, and it'll test only the black cable. We turn this on, milliamps. Okay, it's on. Run the black cable through, and so I'm getting a record max of 0.8. We don't know still what's wrong with the motor, but what just arrived in the mail is a new CDI unit. So we're gonna plug that in after I finish this work. I have a job now, so I have to go do this job, and I'm gonna come back. You guys see those plugs there? See this black one, how it has two coming out? This new CDI only has one coming out. So it's these butt plugs. Funny name, butt plug. And what I was thinking about doing is I went to the hardware store and I bought a female adapter, female butt plug adapter, and a male butt plug adapter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my old cable and make it so that it's adaptable, so that two-prong port is adaptable to the new CDI cable. That way I can test the new CDI without damaging the new CDI in the case that I want to return it. So that's what we're doing. Alright. Now we should be able to just plug our new CDI into that. Alright, so that's zeroed. Now we're going to put this around our red wire, or black wire rather, and put max min max. Here comes the record. There we go. Interesting. 6. Much different results. Much different results. 8.8. Hugely different results. We are getting a lot more volts. A huge amount more volts. All right. Seems to be running nice. A little smoky. I'm gonna turn it off quick and put the cover on, and then we're going for a rip. Uh-oh. Didn't work. Huh. Nope. We can limp home. You don't need to see that. Already replaced the spark plugs, the CDI, the spark plug cables, and I'm now going to replace the stator, also known as the exciter coil. So now I've worked my way back to the stator. This is the final piece of the electrical equation. If this doesn't work, I'm befuddled. I'm becalmed. So here we go. Alright, so the manual says remove stopper locking camshaft, locker arm, easy enough. Oh, beautiful. That's the way. So I'm going to leave this on so that when I pop the flywheel off, it won't pop up. So here's my puller. See if, yep, we have holes that align. So I have a suspicion, you see all that rust on the magneto? There's this patchy little rust there. I have a suspicion that that could be part of my problem. Rust. .400 grit.
Alright, so we've got it here. We've got a little key that's going to mark the actual, there it is. Alright, so one more thing we have to check are the specs, the torque specs, if there are torque specs.
So for the 8 horsepower, it's or 44 to 53 inch per pound. Stator's in. Exciter coil's in, and we're gonna go test ride our motor. If it's not this, I don't know what it is. So hopefully it's this. Choke out. Gonna let her just warm up a little bit here. Feels pretty good. Problems I have right now is I have a ton of growth on the bottom of my boat. That's it. That's it. We've solved the problem. We have solved the problem. Perfectly running engine. Perfectly well running engine now. Very good. Alright, on to the next engine.